It's that time of year again. From snow squalls to blizzards, brutal wind chills to freezing rain, Western Mass will be facing a variety of tough conditions in the months ahead. We'll show you how towns are increasing their technology to monitor conditions in real time, while you can receive the latest alerts and snow forecasts at the palm of your hand. The Springfield area was hit with more than 50 inches of snow last winter. Each November, the ultimate weather question remains the same. How much snow may we have to contend with this winter? Arctic blast, nor'easter, black ice, all weather terms common to New England. But last year, an interesting thing happened. Snow took a back seat in the headlines, and a new weather phrase became part of our lexicon. The polar vortex. It sounded like something out of a sci-fi movie and was just as much of a headline as the cold itself. It's nothing new, though. It's always up in the Arctic, swirling, and meteorologists wait for instances like last year when it spills its record cold air into the U.S. The polar vortex is a pocket of the coldest air in the northern hemisphere. It swirls counterclockwise above the Arctic Circle as a low-pressure system. It is always there. It is nothing new. Its position is semi-permanent, meaning it rarely moves much, but when conditions are right, it can. Typically, the polar vortex remains strong, and that tight circulation keeps it confined to the polar regions. If it weakens, it can be more influenced by other global patterns and freer to move around. A large dip in the jet stream can act as that invitation to move the polar vortex southward, as was the case last year. The polar vortex delivered bitterly cold temperatures and at times prompted a few wind chill warnings across Western Mass. When it comes to moderate snow events, knowing just which type of advisory is posted can give you a good first estimate on how much snow accumulation is in the forecast. Winter weather advisories are the most common for Western Mass, issued when an average of 3 inches of snow is in our forecast area, causing a minor annoyance and delays on the roadways. The next upgrade, a winter storm watch, is for a possible 6 inches of snow or more, with the storm arriving in the next 48 hours. When the storm is 12 hours away, it gets upgraded to a warning. The granddaddy of them all, a blizzard warning, has a more specific set of points that must all be met, including snow, wind, and visibility criteria. The National Weather Service posts these advisories, watches, and warnings as the expected accumulations become more certain. These alerts are instantly available on the CBS3 Springfield app. Whether it's iTunes, Google Play, or others, just search your app store for CBS3 Springfield for a free download. The weather section will show when a new advisory or warning is posted. The interactive radar allows you to track the arrival and exit of snow in your town. Necessary changes to the 7-day forecast and expected snowfall amounts can be seen here even before they are aired on the newscasts. Likewise, you don't have to wait for the scrolling messages at the bottom of the TV screen announcing winter closings, delays, and school cancellations. The entire up-to-the-minute list is right in the palm of your hand. Technology continues to improve, giving people the latest, most local weather information. Now, the town of Wilbraham is using that to their advantage. They're one of many locations in Western Mass to install new WeatherBug stations, providing critical, live data to help crews monitor winter storms. CBS3 Springfield is the exclusive Western Mass TV partner with WeatherBug, the largest commercial weather network in the world. It provides live temperature, wind, precipitation, and other weather variables to schools, businesses, and town offices. Commonly used as an educational tool, this hyper-local weather information is now gaining more practical implications throughout the community.
We pay more for a ton of salt these days than we do for a ton of asphalt. And that salt goes on the road. We want to make sure it's going to get the most effect at the critical time.
The topography and geography of Western Mass makes it full of little quirks and anomalies in the weather patterns, also known as microclimates. The three main weather stations in the Pioneer Valley are located in Chicopee, Westfield, and Windsor Locks. Just because they are the official temperatures doesn't mean it's the same temperature in Wilbraham, and it can vary by several degrees.
Having accurate temperature that's right here for the road conditions and not rely on guessing where that temperature may or may not be if it's reported out over at Westover or what have you. Having that right here, right now, makes a big difference in terms of application and getting the most effectiveness out of our ice treatment.
Wilbraham and other towns expect these real-time temperatures to give them a head start on snow operations for storms this winter. Rainfall and wind direction may also prove valuable for flooding and fire situations throughout the rest of the year.
It's important for our responders to have immediate access to information, and weather is always a factor.
These new stations are part of a much larger picture. WeatherBug is teaming up with National Grid and MIT, using this data to get a better understanding of where power outages may occur with future storms.
Effectively, what we're trying to do is figure out when the next storm comes, what will happen to our National Grid equipment, what wires will be impacted, what poles might come down. And so the WeatherBug data from the 24 sites in Western Mass is going to be really helpful in that regard.
As technology advances, so does the power and resolution of weather models. Most of us typically look at the weather variables for face value, what the temperature feels like, or simply how windy it is. National Grid is feeding the WeatherBug data to a newly developed forecast model designed by researchers at MIT. It's not necessarily forecasting what the temperature will be or who gets the most snow. Instead, it's focusing on where the power outages will be.
We take our best guess as to what's going to happen, say, in the town of Ware or in the town of Wilbraham, what has happened in these past storms. The data coming from the WeatherBug application will then load that into the model, and we'll be able to know again now for the next storm. Well, we had this string of poles go down on Main Street, or this substation was impacted because of this type of storm. So we match the type of weather with the type of damage we see, and that just helps us allocate resources. Where do we roll trucks? Do we need 10 crews or 20 crews? It's very, very discrete pieces of information that's going to help us.
The WeatherBug instrumentation being installed throughout Western Mass also provides an opportunity for National Grid to give back to the community.
Whether it's the first responders having a WeatherBug on their building, or it's just the local high school science club who might come to that facility and learn about weather, learn about meteorology, learn about climate.
Of course, not all snow is catastrophic. Most of it gently falls and provides a whole new season of tourism and recreation here in New England. The owners of Berkshire East in Charlemont explain exactly how much snow is best when the ski slopes finally open this winter.
I'd love to say we get 600 inches a year, but I think we're more in the 100-inch range. So, 70, 100 inches is what we're really hoping for.
It may seem rather simple for a ski resort. More snow leads to better business. But as with any storm for us, the timing is just as important to Berkshire East.
We get a snowfall on a Thursday or Friday before a big weekend or a vacation week. That's a really important snowstorm for us. That same snowstorm comes in on a Saturday afternoon. A lot of folks may not want to travel for that day. So timing on a big storm is everything.
While a major snowfall is great for publicity, smaller events of 2 or 4 inches throughout the season is the best for snow quality. If there is one request to Mother Nature from Berkshire East, it's a heavy, wet snow to get the season off to a good and early start.
Early season, we'll take a heavy, wet snow. That'll open trails that otherwise wouldn't be open. So a foot of wet snow will compact to 3 inches of really hard base layer that'll be there the rest of the year. A foot of really light snow will just be fluff that blows away. So early season, we'd start out in an ideal setting with a big, heavy, wet snow that would just pack in the whole mountain and set up a glacier for the year.
Stick around. When we return, meteorologist Nick Morganelli reveals your winter forecast.
A CBS3 Springfield special presentation. The Pinpoint Weather Winter Outlook, brought to you by Heyman Law.
I've lived in New England all my life, and last winter was the most relentlessly cold one I've experienced. It turned out to be the coldest December to March on record in Chicago, the snowiest in Detroit, and ranked as the top 5 coldest for many areas here in the Northeast. So are we in for a repeat this winter? That's the question we'll do our best to answer.
First, let's take an observation of our current snow cover over the U.S., Canada, and around the Northern Hemisphere. North of 60 degrees latitude, the Arctic Circle, there's always snow on the ground. But when snow covers the ground in the U.S., cold air can ooze out of Canada and retain its strength. Snow cover plays a major role dictating how cold a winter will be. That's because the sun's energy is spent trying to melt the snow, or it's reflected off the snowpack. Otherwise, the sun would heat the ground, which in turn heats the air. Arctic air is naturally made over fresh snow. The more snow on the ground close by means you can create frigid nights right here. Already we're off to a snowy start with nearly a foot of snow blanketing the northern third of the U.S. So based on snow cover alone, we're likely off to a colder than average December overall, which may linger into January. But another driving force to deliver the cold air is a jet stream pattern that dives south. This year, El Nino may help steer those winds. Remember, El Nino is the movement of warm surface water across the equatorial Pacific from Asia towards South America. But how would Pacific Ocean temperatures influence our winter here in New England? The influx from heat from the Pacific changes the pressure pattern, and this sends the jet stream or storm track farther north over the Pacific Northwest. Like a wave in the ocean, a crest produces a trough, and that trough would set up over the Midwest or the Northeast, allowing cold air to push into our region. Another outcome is a periodic secondary subtropical jet stream that brings in warm, moist air into the U.S. from the Southwest and Caribbean. This can lead to a milder winter with a strong El Nino. However, we're only expecting a mild event that ramps up slowly over the next few months. So El Nino may become a bigger factor for feeding East Coast snowstorms in February. We have to include the most important force that drives all weather on Earth. It's the closest star to our planet, the sun. Solar radiation, energy we can directly measure, fluctuates with an 11-year sunspot cycle. The fewer sunspots on the sun's surface, the less energy output of the sun. It's a very small decrease, but can make a big difference. Since 2002, the sun has been less active and we are approaching a solar minimum. In fact, some solar scientists predict we may see another super minimum. Our solar history shows us what can happen. Entering the 18th century, we were in the middle of a 50-year period of intense cold that many titled the Little Ice Age. So given we're near a solar minimum, that's another factor that favors a cold winter. Predicting how many nor'easters we'll see in a winter is not possible. However, some atmospheric patterns like the North Atlantic Oscillation create a jet stream environment that is a catalyst for spinning up big low pressure systems on the East Coast. In early 2010, we broke numerous seasonal snowfall records for the Mid-Atlantic. At that time, this North Atlantic Oscillation, or NAO, was in its negative phase. In recent years, the NAO has been mostly negative. In fact, some of the snowiest years on record have been in the last 15 years, and they all had a negative phase NAO in common. So if the NAO happens to be in a negative phase in February, look out for some big nor'easter snowstorms.
Well, I have to tell you, I haven't met anyone who wants the severe cold we had last year. But it's time now to reveal the forecast for the next few months and find out where temperatures are headed and how much snow will fall.
Here in the lower Pioneer Valley, we average about 48 inches of snow each winter. This winter may be similar to that of 2010-2011, which was a year with much above average snowfall. Our snow forecast for the winter, about a foot or more above average at 60 to 70 inches. February may be an interesting month if El Nino arrives and influences the jet stream pattern. Look out for nor'easters. We are likely to have a colder than average December, a slightly cold January, and an average February. Expect several intrusions of Arctic air, with any mild spells being brief. Bottom line, it's a snowy and cold 3 months ahead.
There you have it, the winter forecast for the upcoming season. That'll do it for us. Thanks for joining us for this weather special. Have a wonderful holiday season. We'll see you next time.